Hikone Ubuginu did not remember the moment that their sense of self germinated. That didn't quite mean that they had no memories of their time as an infant, in the way a human would not. The konpaku called Hikone was a warped form, created by layering and interleaving the splinters of many different beings, hollows, quincies, and even miscarriages. The konpaku was a compilation of every possible kind of soul, with the fragments of Ryo at its center. Those fragments being what allowed Hikone to continue living with a single sense of individuality and prevented Hikone from falling apart. However, as the building blocks used to create Hikone were konpaku prior to their decomposition into reishi, the dregs of those prior beings influenced Hikone to some extent. Hundreds of different selves intermingled within them. A certain fragment of soul would forgive slaughter, while another would reject it as impermissible. Another soul would claim that humans were evil, as another would extol virtue as the embodiment of humankind. Their memories had vanished, but the differences in their ways of life etched into, entangled, and threatened to tear apart Hikone's soul. Because of that, Hikone found peace in simply following Tokinada's instructions. Tokinada would define what was correct for Hikone, and that would help herd the dregs of konpaku in a single direction. Hikone's one and only desire was to become a good king for Tokinada.
It's just that you haven't seen the stars yet.
When she learned of Tokinada's true nature, Kakyo was not shocked or disappointed. Only love filled her voice. And that was something Tokinada could not forgive. It gave him the sense that she was looking down upon him. As the lowest seat of a branch family, Tokinada had taken Kakyo as his wife at the behest of the head family, as the Tsunayashiros had found a secret attainment in her konpaku. The Tsunayashiros had been searching for those with that attainment, and after finding them would experiment on them until they were depleted, and then would extract the fragments of what would become of said attainments. But then they wondered what would happen if one with an attainment bore a child. Would it be inherited into that child? Would it weaken, or would it multiply? As Kakyo was from Rukongai, the Tsunayashiros decided to use one of the lowest branches of their family for the experiment, and so Tokinada was directed to approach her. His displeasure at the main family for controlling him was overridden by his desire to see Kakyo fall from happiness into despair. He fantasized about the moment where he could tell her that his love was a lie, and thus he feigned love to capture her heart. And then on the night of their wedding, Tokinada laid everything bare.
If you annul the wedding, it won't just affect you. Those living in the Rukongai would also likely be blamed and punished. Your best friend Koname, who you talk about so often, won't escape unharmed.
Tokinada's eyes were overflowing with expectation, wondering just what kind of comical expression of despair would show on Kakyo's face. But she had already seen through it all. She said that she married him despite knowing all that, leaving Tokinada bewildered and angry. Kakyo began to gain influence as a Soul Reaper, and she was rumored to become a seated officer. And if that happened, Tokinada's self would erode away. Kakyo would usurp everything from him. But the main family would not allow Tokinada to kill or divorce her, as she was a valuable test subject. However, the Tsunayashiro's schemes were discovered by a friend of his, and in an attempt to save Kakyo, he called Tokinada out late one night to question him. Tokinada happily told him the truth, wanting nothing more than to see the man's reaction, and as Tokinada expected, the man said,
"As your friend, I will kill you."
Tokinada drew his zanpakuto and they fought. They matched each other in power, but then Kakyo, in search of her husband, appeared on the scene after hearing the clash of blades. Kakyo attempted to stop them, but in that moment Tokinada waited for her back to turn and then thrust Kakyo's body at his opponent, causing them to stagger into each other, and then without hesitation Tokinada cut through them both. Tokinada was thrilled as he had finally been able to give his wife despair.
Now cry, fear, despair! If you are going to burn out the last of your life, then turn your Suzumushi against me. You may curse your own naivete as you strike me with your murderous malice.
However, even on the brink of death, Kakyo smiled.
I'm sorry. I wasn't able to clear away the clouds for you.
Then she simply closed her eyes. And after being left in a daze for a short time, Tokinada's body trembled. He shivered with pure rage.
You looked down upon me, pitied me, until your very last breath. You say it's because I just haven't seen the stars, huh? You say that you couldn't clear away my clouds, did you? Shut the hell up! Stop spouting such foolishness, Kakyo! You've been standing atop the clouds my entire life. No, I am the clouds. You were the one who was mistaken about the stars, about the world being beautiful. Such a gravely mistaken view. It is unsightly how the stars break through the darkness. You ended up like this because of your belief that that was all right.
Tokinada kicked both Kakyo's body and the body of his friend. Eventually his breathing steadied and the rage left his face.
Too bad, Kakyo. I wanted to more thoroughly show you just how absurd the world is. I wanted to teach you that the justice your peace-loving heart treasured was a pipe dream. Only if I could have turned you to my side, could I have truly opened my heart to you. Maybe I actually did love you if I wanted to go that far for you.
Immediately after, the Tsunayashiro family summoned Tokinada for questioning, and Tokinada bluntly replied to the main family's interrogation.
I just couldn't stand being the husband of a slum dweller from Rukongai.
Though they branded him as an incompetent, they accepted his claim, as they agreed that taking one so poor as a wife was a disgrace. But Tokinada had lied. He did not care whether his partner was from the Rukongai. He saw all people equally as nothing more than playthings for him.
My wife committed adultery with a man who had been my friend, and I caught them in the act. In a rage, the man killed Kakyo, and so I reluctantly struck back.
As the Tsunayashiro family did not want a criminal among their number, Tokinada shamelessly excused himself with that false story. However, a man who had been on the lookout for Tokinada's deceptions appeared, Shunsui Kyoraku, and touted a minuscule amount of evidence against his story. Normally, Tokinada would have been able to make such evidence and testimony disappear, but Kyoraku was the second son of a highly influential aristocrat. If he had not been around, Tokinada might have lived a very different life. Palace Forefront.
You got me. Valley of Screams or not, it's preposterous the four great noble clans could build this thing under everyone's noses.
I doubt this was built using any hired labor. I wonder if it's floating in the air using the same trick as the Ryokyu.
Then the Ryokyu's hidden techniques aren't very hidden.
Kyoraku turned his eyes to the palace under the floating castle to quietly hone his spiritual pressure. He felt a familiar presence from within it.
So he doesn't even intend to hide? I suppose that means he's already finished preparing to meet our attack. Sorry, Captain Zaraki. I think this will eventually end in a fight. But would you let me do some talking first?
If we're gonna fight anyway, jabbering's just a waste of time.
That is true, but there are protocols to be followed. If we headed right into slashing at him, the act itself would make us traitors. Depending on the situation, we might even end up making an enemy of the entire Soul Society.
Cut the crap. You called me here because you knew I couldn't care less about finicky details like that. Having the Soul Society as an enemy? That'd be great. I see no problems with it.
Even so, I had you put on your haori so you would look presentable while we confronted someone from the four great noble clans. Though, I don't think I would have made such a fuss if we were talking to Yoruichi, who's also a member of the clans.
I think I'd be more upset if you did fuss over me. Though I don't like how you said that so bluntly. It's too bad Byakuya isn't here. If we do get the chance to legitimately kill Tokinada, I think I would have liked to see the kill go to him.
Did something happen between them?
Of all things, he insulted Byakuya's wife to his face. He looked calm on the surface, but he may well have been seething in the pit of his stomach.
I'm grateful for his restraint. Had he drawn his sword then, that itself could have resulted in civil war.
Byakuya Kuchiki had left with Hitsugaya to investigate the trouble relating to Ichigo in the world of the living. While Kyoraku sighed, they reached the center of the courtyard, and Tokinada appeared high above them on a palace balcony.
You're late, Kyoraku.
Tokinada.
Oh, not Lord Tokinada. Then should I consider this not a visit from the head captain of the 13 Court Guard squads, but a personal call from an old school friend?
I suppose so. I've come here to stop you, as an old friend.
Kyoraku drew his zanpakuto.
I suppose I'll at least ask. What are you intending to do by transporting that thing to the world of the living?
Oh, I should have known that you would at least realize that much. Of course. You've already exposed my lies and took me to trial once before.
I lost that battle the moment you didn't receive an appropriate charge. I regret it.
So you came with that mob in tow to play revolution and exact your revenge. Really, you never change. Just as in the past, you make others think you're deeply prudent, yet you have a penchant for letting your emotions get the better of you. Just as when you turned your back on the Central 46 to save Rukia Kuchiki. Now this time you are turning on the 4 great noble clans. No, I suppose you're turning on the Soul Society's history itself.
I'm defying history. I've got nothing. How do you come to these crazy conclusions?
The Tsunayashiros are the symbol that rules history. Our family's every move continues to form the foundation of the world. In short, don't you think the moment you defy me as the head of the family, you are committing high treason against history itself?
That depends on the history you're trying to write. According to Yoruichi, seems you're not just trying to govern the Sherete, but also the world of the living and Hueco aren't you? What's the purpose of doing all that? And why now?
Don't you think the 3 worlds as they are now lack respect?
Respect?
That's right. Just who made it so that those residing in the world of the living could exist through uncountable nights and be showered in the light of daybreak? Whose benevolence enables a ceaseless supply of reishi sand to fall upon Hueco? This applies to the matter of the last war as well. The only ones who know of Ichigo Kurosaki's deeds are the Soul Reapers. The humans of the world of the living are great only in number, do not even know that their world was almost in ruin. Do you think it is all right to allow such a situation to continue?
You can't say that when you don't even know the first thing about Ichigo. He's not the type of person to let such things bother him.
Oh, Miss Aranka, is it fine just because he himself doesn't mind? Are you suggesting it is right for the humans of the world of the living to continue in their ignorance, letting slip idle complaints when faced with trivial predicaments, and living out their depraved days, unaware that they have been blessed with the privilege of being allowed to live?
You're free to think that, but don't use Ichigo to justify your own selfish reasonings.
Hey, is that Aranka Ichigo Kurosaki's girl or something?
Huh? No chance in hell. Kurosaki's maid is this ditzy human woman.
I see. So he's a womanizer.
How rude of me. However, the truth is that I am simply showing my gratitude toward Ichigo Kurosaki. Had he not defeated Yuhavach, the boundaries between the 3 worlds would have disappeared, and we would have returned to a universe in which there would be no cycling of Kompaku, wouldn't we? Such an action would have reduced the Soul Society's history to naught. I would like to make this a universe where he receives commendation befitting his achievement of preventing that occurrence.
Lip service doesn't suit you, Tokinada. Just tell us what you really want.
I am sure I already have, Kyoraku. Or are you saying that someone such as the head captain of the 13 court guard squads can see through me? Do you mean to say you can read my mind?
Yeah, but not as the head captain. I see through you because I'm an old friend whose fate has been tied to yours whether I like it or not. All you want to do is see it, right? See everything that we consider common sense to crumble down around us. You want to see the world break. The world of the living is rooted in its own society and religions. Currently, they do not even scientifically acknowledge the existence of souls. You intend to suspend the greatest proof of soul reapers, Kompaku and Hollows, over them to make their existence public. Those who are religious would be thrown into chaos, and those who don't believe in an afterlife would suddenly learn of one.
If the existence of a world after death were proven, the societies and cultures of the world of the living would likely be destroyed. Those who were unhappy in life might more readily kill themselves, while more might flock to crime, believing capital punishment would only help them escape to the next world, and countries with religion as their foundations might fall into anarchy. The existence of hell would likely cause chaos in other ways. Human society would stagnate, and though the confusion would likely come to an end after a period of time, much tragedy would have resulted before that time came, and those who had prepared themselves to meet and create in the Rukongai could possibly spread the chaos even within the Soul Society.
To prevent society from collapsing, that castle in Katakura Town might be wiped off the map. Even if they can't kill Hollows, the world of the living has mountains of frightful weapons that can destroy other humans. Though they're on thin ice, both the world of the living and Wakamundo are in balance right now. When I tried to imagine why you would purposefully disrupt the balance by reshaping the world, that was the only answer I could think of. It's because you just want to see it. You simply want to laugh and watch the value system people believe in collapse and fall into disarray. As they fight and self-destruct, you will snack on your desserts. You broke unwritten rules, and you're trying to push a brand new value system onto the world of the living simply for that reason. Am I wrong?
The others with Kyoraku looked generally bewildered, while Tokinada simply broke into a smile.
Oh dear. You really are a difficult man, Kyoraku. It looks like you have a thorough understanding of my propensities. At least you have a better sense of them than the main family that belittled me.
Are you saying you're destroying the ways of the world simply for leisure?
You have the gall to say that, Arrancar Queen. You hollows are beings that are insatiably manipulated by your desires to fill the void carved into your kompaku. Some are besmirched by hunger, some drown in destructive tendencies, some seek companionship to remedy their solitude, and some ceaselessly pursue beauty. Is that not an apt description of you?
Ha! You're so naive. I do pursue beauty, that's for sure. But I've already filled my void, as I've already perfected myself. Yes, I exist in beauty, all the way down to my name.
Or do you mean to say you have lived a straight and narrow life without having made others into your meals?
The world requires sacrifices. However, though I used them for nourishment, I had no reason to turn them into playthings.
No reason? Do you need anything of the sort? To me, toys and nourishment are equal. A life lived simply eating for survival is nothing better than forever dying, is it not? In which case, if they die either way, then isn't the healthy and correct way to live toying with them as much as possible before killing them?
You scum.
Hey, Yumichika. You think Captain Kuchiki and Omaida are actually more like us than the other nobles?
He makes even the Shihoin family's impulsiveness look attractive in comparison. Someone who reveals such ugliness just by speaking is not one to scoff at.
So that guy is crazy narcissistic, right? Definitely hasn't got any friends.
Well, I think out of all of us, he's most similar to Luppi.
You're right. He'd probably be able to get along with him pretty great.
Hey, you've got to be joking, right? Don't lump me together with that weirdo. I wouldn't indulge in making degeneracy like that into a hobby.
Oh well, I expected it from Kyoraku, but I can't believe the age has come when even Arrancars and Quincy's would speak of morality. I suppose this is what you would say is the end of the world. Well, it was already pretty much the end to begin with.
What's really ending are your schemes. You don't happen to feel like coming in quietly, do you?
What crime do you even plan to charge me with? Using the Valley of Screams as I please is one of the rights of the Tsunayashiro family. And if you have suspicions regarding what you found in the visuals department, then I'll kindly ask you to refrain any investigations until you have formal permission by Center 46 and the Golden Assembly.
If I went through with all that, we wouldn't make it in time to put a stop to your scheme. So I'll kindly ask you to let us press charges that'll allow us to forcibly take you in.
Nanao immediately realized that as Tokinada was managing the visual department, it was possible they were being recorded at that very moment. If they allowed Tokinada to escape, and he used the recording to gather nobles who opposed Kyoraku's family, the situation would shift to Tokinada's favor. So they needed to demonstrate that there was a crime to charge Tokinada with.
Oh? You think you can sentence me? There are a limited number of charges you could use to arrest one of the 4 great noble clans on the spot. So I wonder just what it is you're saying that I've even done.
There is one thing you've done. You should know what it is, shouldn't you? It's a crime that resulted even in someone from the main Kuchiki family being arrested without controversy. Hikone Ubuginu. I haven't met this person yet, but don't try to tell me you don't have any recollection.
You mean the transfer of Soul Reaper powers?
We have retrieved evidence from the Central Pharmacy. By mixing Soul Reaper Kanpaku into a human Kanpaku, you were able to compel the Soul Chain and Soul Sleep to function. Regardless of whether it was a corpse or something else, If you have given Soul Reaper powers to something that was once human, it could be said that you've stepped firmly into forbidden territory, can it?
Enough with the tomfoolery, Kyoraku. Do you think I am unaware that when Ichigo Kurosaki lost his powers, the court guard captains and lieutenants came together to spare him theirs?
Well now, that was authorized by Old Man Yama, so I'd think of it as a special case. However, I don't remember making such an exception for you, and there is already precedent that it's not allowed even by the 4 great noble clans because of Rukia's case. She only received the death penalty because of Aizen's tricks.
You seem very calm. Aren't you worried about Shinji Hirako after leaving him all alone in a horde of monsters?
He's an adult, you know. He can handle a child messenger on his own. Or rather, the playthings of your child messenger.
The shadow that Tokinada cast from the balcony had finally neared Kyoraku's feet. Kyoraku sank into the shadow, and his sword was instantly at Tokinada's feet. In the middle of the Valley of Screams was a giant flower-like object. Closed like a bud at first, it quivered and bloomed into a magnificent floral wreath. This gigantic pedestal, shaped like a dianthus flower, was the form of Shinji Hirako's bankai.
Looks like it's all over. Thanks for your help, Sakanade. I really was unlucky when the Quincy's came to declare war, since they all sprang up in the Seirete and sent everything into chaos. If they had just created some sort of battle formation outside the walls, I would have been able to pick off most of them myself. It's not all that useful when I've got allies around. There's not even much point to using it when facing someone directly. It only really means something when I'm isolated and standing right in the middle of a gigantic crowd of enemies by myself. What a pain. You guys agree that it's a pain, right?
What was spread out around Hirako was a vast white sea composed of monstrous corpses. The tens of thousands of monsters the swarm had swelled into had all died. They died by biting each other, or clawing at each other, by killing their own allies. The ability of Shinji Hirako's bankai, Sakashima Yokoshima Happo Fusagari, was that it persistently inverted the perception of who was friend and who was foe.
Sorry, Sakanade's a liar. That the hypnosis doesn't work well on bugs was also a lie.
If his shikai was thought to be an illusion of sight and sound, then his bankai was a hypnosis of others' minds. But as brutal as the ability was, it had immense recompense. Because it could not distinguish between friend or foe, if fellow Soul Reapers were around him, they would begin to unleash friendly fire on him. And because there wouldn't be an object whose perception of friend and foe he could change in a one-on-one match, the ability would not activate.
If I could do that, I could just pretend to be their ally and slash them all I wanted from behind. Maybe I should have come here alone and had Tokinada and Hikone attack each other. Well, if somebody is on Aizen or Yuhavok's level, it might not have any effect in the first place. Seriously, your Shikai is for strong opponents, and your Bankai is for sweeping foot soldiers. You really are backwards.
He patted Sakanade's handle, and he slowly walked through the sea of corpses.
It seems the horde that Ikkomikidomawe created has been destroyed.
You've sure underestimated me if you think you've got time to take your eyes off me.
No, I'm not underestimating you at all.
The fight between Aura and the Fullbringers had already began. Before she could keep talking, Tsukishima had turned his sword at Aura in an attempt to insert himself into her past, but it had simply passed through her. Ginjo also tried waving his sword, but no matter how many times he tried to cut her, her body dispersed like smoke.
Mere physical attacks will not work on my present self. I will at least inform you on that.
You got me beat. I can't hold a match to that keto stuff. Was that stuff about Katakura Town being sealed off one of your ploys, Yukio?
To be more precise, it was a joint effort. She's been maxing out her Konpaku and Reishi subjugation stats. That's why when I activate my Fullbring through her, her performance is next level. It's like she's got a booster or something in her.
So it's not from the power we stole from Ichigo then. Actually, if she can vaporize her own body, her basic Fullbringer abilities must be off the charts. I was putting this off, but I at least have to ask what your goal is. founder of a new faith and possessor of good looks.
There's no need for flattery. Actually, my goal will change depending on what it is you seek.
You mentioned that earlier, didn't you? What I seek. What do you expect from me after I died and drifted into the Rikongai?
Are you still contemplating revenge on the Soul Reapers?
That's none of your business. Did Yukio tell you about that?
It's the opposite, Kugo. She came to me because she knew about your past.
How?
Michibane was my mother's surname. My father's name was Tensho Agata.
What? I see. So your old man Agata's little girl. Never would have thought both a parent and their kid would end up Fullbringers.
I am grateful that you gave my father hope.
Are you being sarcastic? Your pops ended up dead because of me.
No. Regardless of the results, you brought light back into my father's eyes. Even momentarily. When all he had before was fear and despair. So I'm grateful, and I have no reason to hold a grudge against you.
Then why are you here? Based on what I've heard, I understand you're working with a Soul Reaper named Tsunayashiro.
Yes. Tokinada Tsunayashiro is my master. If I can, I would like all of you to gather under Lord Tokinada, and that is why I have hastened to join you.
Why the hell would I join forces with a Soul Reaper?
The new world Lord Tokinada is building. It should be a place that allows Fullbringers to reign at the top. I asked President Yukio about it, and did you not say it yourself earlier? That execution is a gathering of those with the ability to change the world? Will you allow me to describe to you the kind of world Lord Tokinada intends to create?
Right. Tsukishima.
What is it?
Insert yourself into Yukio.
Huh?
In the next moment, the Book of the Yan's blade was sticking out from Yukio's chest. He couldn't evade it, and when the blade was pulled back out, the vestiges of Tsukishima's spiritual pressure lingered.
If you've been brainwashed, this'll cancel that out. First, we'll take our time hearing the truth from Yukio himself.
It seems you are quite a hasty gentleman. I must thank you for inserting the bookmark into Yukio. It was as we anticipated.
What?
In that instant, Ginjo felt something strange in his abdomen, and when he looked down, he saw the blade of Book of the Ant piercing through him from behind.
Tsukishima?
As his consciousness grew murky, Ginjo saw Giriko being cut as well.
What?
Sorry, Ginjo. Kutsuzawa. A pained smile crossed Tsukishima's face, and before he could ask why, Ginjo's past was rewritten.